WonderBirds are supported by dogfriendly.co.uk, improving the lives of dogs and their owners.
Happy Monday, darlings. How are you all?
We're fine.
Really good, darling.
Notice that Sherry is not here. She's just having a few days off. Well, lucky for her. That's all I can say.
Darling, she's gone rogue. That's the problem. She's gone rogue. We don't know where she is, what she's doing. She's otherwise indisposed.
Yes. Otherwise engaged. And so we have the wonderful Hilary O'Neill, who didn't push her down the stairs. Did you, Hilary?
No.
You didn't grease the stairs, darling.
Are you sure, darling? Are you
darling,
sure?
Did you sure you didn't put glass in her point shoe or grease the stairs?
Absolutely, promise you I didn't, but I'm still thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Darling, I will pay you. I will pay you next time. Let me just say that. Now, can I just tell you, girls, I had yesterday, Sunday, my second small prick in my arm. And I want to also say I have no side effects at all. My arm isn't even sore. And I am just so grateful to the NHS. And I feel very relieved and really great. So thank you, NHS.
Fabulous.
It is a small prick. A second small prick in your arm is, you can't go wrong, dear. It's what we all dream of.
Yes, absolutely. Because historically, you don't get a reaction from a small prick, do you, darling?
No, darling. No. There used to be a phrase, and I don't know if we can use it, but it used to be throwing a sausage up Oxford Street. But there we go. We're not that good.
Yes, that's right.
I'm so sorry, Hilary. You're the virgin of the show, and you should not be spoken to like this, or even hear this conversation.
I've never known myself talk about small pricks before the sort of 5 o'clock watershed, and we're just before.
There you go. Liberated, darling.
Totally. So lucky, but don't you feel humbled by it? Because so many friends have had terrible effects, and you just go, I'll keep my mouth shut. But I'm sorry, I'm just so grateful to be done now.
Yeah,
I want to. I've had it.
Yes,
exactly.
I've had a few friends actually who've had side effects, but not terrible side effects. But I think we're very fortunate that we haven't.
I wanted to say, Hilary, I didn't realise you were a virgin, darling. I know, as I've said before, my bifolders have been shut for a long time, so I think I've sealed over. But I didn't realise you were a virgin. I think Debbie said that. So congratulations.
Thank you very much indeed. Holding on, all intact. Yes, all intactum. I can't even think of what I didn't do Latin at school. What would that be? Intactum,
intactus, intactus,
okay, we're getting,
intactunt.
Well, actually, move on, please. Dee, who are you bringing in? Bring them in quickly, please.
Yes, darling. Yes. I am bringing in the wonderful, who we've actually chatted to before. He's coming back again into the nest. Tim Bentinck.
Yay,
darling.
Hello.
Tim. Did you do Latin at school? We've just been trying to. What do you do with a verb?
Did I do what at school?
Latin.
I did do Latin at school. Yeah.
Right. Intact. Do the verb. Intactum, intactus, intactum.
Intactus.
Oh.
If you're just saying that we, as mature women, we are now sealed over and intactus. Thank you for that. Thank you.
No, because you're the plural, so you're intactum.
Intactum.
If you were singular, if you were singular, it would be intactus, and if you're plural, it's intactum.
So that's
intactum, intactus, intactum, intactamus, intactatus. Stop. Is that it?
Stop, matron.
Sounds like a cactus.
I'm blown away by your declension, Debbie.
Yes, I like Latin. Actually, at school, what a ridiculous conversation to have.
I know, it is it's a bit crazy, but I have worked out now, if I was a drag act, what my Latin name would be. It'd be Hilarious Intactus.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
There you go. Perfect.
I've actually got on the wall in the loo here, I've got a thing which I found this, I was clearing out the drains from underneath the sink, and this thing came out which looked like an insect. So I've cleaned it up and I framed it, and I've called it Impedians plumbarius. Impediment of the plumbing. Do you see what I mean?
Very good.
So,
very impressive.
I'm hoping to sell it for vast amounts of money. As a non-fungible token. I don't know if you've come across a non-fungible token. You know that guy spent 69 million quid for a JPEG. You know that one?
No.
Oh yeah. So that's what I'm aiming for. Are we on?
Good luck with that.
No,
Yes, dear.
we're actually on air, which is wonderful. So our public are hearing us talking about this complete and utter rubbish. Now, Tim,
Okay.
I mean, everybody knows you as David Archer in The Archers and all the wonderful television that you've done. And I've known you as we always go on about that. I met you in bed, and I had actually, when Judy, your wife, came on a few weeks ago, she even said that she forgave me for that.
Yes, no, she does. She does. It took a long time, but she did.
Okay.
It's called acting, and so it's okay. You know, being in bed with gorgeous women is perfectly all right.
Yes, and being in bed with a gorgeous man. But actually, talking about acting, the last play I saw you do, which is actually probably the last play you did, because since then it's been locked down. You played the Prime Minister. Tim, you were so fabulous, and it was such a great play. Can you tell us about it, and did you enjoy it?
I did. I mean, I hadn't been on stage for 8 years, and there is this thing of, you know, use it or lose it, and remembering lines. And I was on stage for, you know, almost the entire thing for an hour, and there were a lot of lines, and it's scary, you know, as you get older. I've always thought about this thing about fear is fear, to the extent, actually, this is a slight digression. There were other people on with us who went on after us. There were a load of disabled servicemen coming on, and they were doing a play which was telling the audience about their experiences. And I was chatting away to this guy who was this big burly, he was a colour sergeant in the Grenadier Guards, and he was pet, you know. Well, he was probably related to the wife, you know what I mean? Not my wife, I mean the Archer's wife. Anyway, he sat there and he was shaking and he was going, I'm terrified, I'm terrified. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I'd rather be, you know, facing bullets going into action than going on there on stage. And it did occur to me that fear is fear. It doesn't, you know, we're not going to die on stage, you know, not physically, but when your body is shaking with fear, it's the same thing. And he said he'd rather be facing bullets because that's what his job was. It was quite interesting. Anyway, so no, we did it. And I mean, I have to say, creating it is the best part of it. Judy said when I came back from rehearsal, she said, I haven't seen you so happy for ages, because, you know, it was a new play and I was creating the part and I was inventing. And that's the thing I really loved. And then once we got it up and running, and you know, there's lots of silly stories about drying and, you know, who we were on with. And oh God, one day a baby, we came on stage and suddenly there was this infant, I mean a tiny infant, screaming. I went, I'm not going to be able to do this. I am not going to be able to do this. And Mike McShane, you know, big burly Mike McShane, you know, and he tried a few times before and had stared at me with that kind of look of panic, and I got him out of it. And he, because he's so used to doing improv and being interrupted, everything, he was absolutely fine. And I tried, and he looked me in the eyes and he gave me the line, and with a little wink like that, and got me going. Luckily, they got the baby out in time, but he came up to me afterwards and said, "Hey, we're even, buddy." Yeah, no, it's, you know, it's scary stuff, but it's, you know, it flying by the seat of your pants and doing it. But after about a week of doing it, I suddenly went, hang on, wait a minute, I'm up in Edinburgh in a little flat on my own, without Jude and without the home comforts. And I thought, okay, I kind of got into that feeling of, right, I've done that. And much as I love it, I have a feeling really that I'm happier doing telly and films and radio. I'm happier doing the thing where you kind of where you do it once, you know, and then you move on. That I'm better at that.
Yeah, it was the most fantastic part for you, though. Be great if you play that on television. And the irony was that everything that was happening in the government was actually happening on the stage, wasn't it?
It really was. And I mean, they'd written it, you know, about 2 years before that, and almost everything that they wrote, they were, you know, because they were very good political writers, and so the stuff was very clever. And they sort of foresaw everything happening. Ursula von Leyden, you know, was almost there incarnate. It looked at the end, I kept joking that because she offers him a job in the European Union, and he goes, right, thanks very much indeed. Oh, I think I'll go and take that one. And you could see them going off into the sunset together. It was like the idea of sort of Boris Johnson and Ursula, you know, getting in on.
That's amazing. It's like art imitating life, literally.
It was
amazing, that timing. The line learning, of course, is it freaks me out. I mean, you guys have learned more lines than I've ever done, but when it does happen, and it's the most awful feeling to feel that sweat rising up when you know what's coming and you don't know what's coming. You know it's you, and then often there's also sometimes when I've been on stage where there's a gap and I assume it's me, so I fill it. It's not me at all. That's always a good one. I would actually love to ask you about your celebrity mastermind stint, if I may. What was your specialist subject, Tim?
My specialist subject,
yes,
was Winnie the Pooh and A.A. Milne. Because
really?
I said, yes, I said, can I do Winnie the Pooh? Simply because I wanted to be able to sit in that black chair and say the word heffalump. That was the reason why I did it. And they said you can't, because you can't do it that because there are only 2 books on Winnie the Pooh. So it's not like doing the Second World War. Like some people say, I'm doing the Second World War. You go, bloody hell, that's a bit of a big.
Yeah.
No, Winnie the Pooh, there are 2 books, and I learnt them like a script. I mean, I simply wrote down all the questions that you could possibly ask, wrote them down. There was the answer, and I learnt that like a script. So I knew I was going to get it. I knew I was going to be all right.
The love of that particular book was born because of your 2 sons and reading to them, or?
Well, a bit more pathetic actually. As a child, I just adored it, and it's remained with me. I think most people, when you get Winnie the Pooh as a child, it never leaves you. Piglet and Christopher Robin and all that kind of thing. And yes, you're right. I did then read it to my sons, and so that kind of strengthened that. But they said you can't just do that. You have to do A.A. Milne as well. And so then I had to learn A.A. Milne. So I did have to do quite a little bit, but I knew that there would only be about kind of 4 questions at the beginning, and I was right. And all you had to do is know where he went to school and who his teachers were, things like that. Anyway, I got all correct and no passes. So once the specialist round was out of the way, I thought, well, that's it. I mean, I've done as well as I can possibly do now, and then the rest of it is in the lap of the gods. And then the general knowledge, it was me and Guy Henry. And Guy was desperate to win. I mean, really desperate to win. He was the most competitive person I've ever come across. So I was just sailing along, and I was doing fine. I was getting most of the things right. And then I suddenly got this question about a town in Turkey, which I'd never even heard of. I know what he's talking about. And it's really interesting. And you can see it when you watch Mastermind. You see people get discombobulated. That you can see them. They're all confident, and then they get something and they get it wrong. And you can see their brain going, oh, and their confidence kind of goes, and mine kind of went, and then they asked me, who chairs question of sport? I know this because I've watched it back, and I've said, and I couldn't think of Sue, I can't think of it now, Sue
Sue Barker.
Sue Barker. And then they said, who interviewed Frost? Frost, who interviewed Richard Nixon? Well, Frost Nixon, it's a play. And I said Martin Bashir for some reason. I couldn't think of it. And then they said who was something in Troy, and I said Paris, and it was Ulysses. And all these things, as you can imagine, I did win it, but I was so close to not. And then the last question was, what oil do you put on a cricket bat? Well, all those years of being bored, I wasn't very good at cricket, sitting in the outfield, cleaning the bats with linseed oil. And that linseed oil, I won it. So I've got the Mastermind trophy, and it can never be taken away from me. And also to be able to say all correct and no passes on Winnie the Pooh is quite fun.
Oh, absolutely.
It's very impressive, darling.
So amazing. All your work is so diverse. The video games, the video voiceover stuff that you've done. Your list is absolutely forever. That's War and Peace, just that alone.
It is, but the one that I've suddenly has become a big thing. Apparently, I've got 10 million people, and rather Archers is 5 million. 10 million people play Vermintide and Vermintide 2, in which I play the character of Victor Saltzpyre, which is this voice which I've developed it over the years. It's sort of a mixture of Sir Ian McKellen and Kenneth Williams, because there's a dying tone to it, and it's very, very arrogant. By Sigma, we shall destroy the rat men. And I've got this massive following in America for Victor Saltzpyre. People are going completely sideways about it. And it's one of those jobs that keeps on giving. They'll ring you up and they say, can you do another 4 hours of Victor? And you just go into the studio and you sight read it off the thing. But you have to give it lots of welly. And I completely adore it. And I've just started a new one as well, which they said this guy was a great fan of Victor Saltzpyre. And he said, but this is different. He said, okay, so he was in Italy. He said, you are an alien. And you are an archaeologist, and you only have the head and shoulders. The body gets put on later. So, okay. So I said, what sort of voice do you want for this? Do you want kind of an American? You think, is that, no, I think sort of exotic. I went, what a brief for an accent, exotic. Anyway, we ended up with with this sort of, I said, what do you want, the Russian? Oh, no. I said, what about kind of all-purpose European? You know those kids now that you listen to and you don't know whether they are from France or from Italy because they speak really good English. They could be from Croatia. It's a sort of European accent that has a slight American to it. So anyway, that was my exotic accent. So that's the next one in the bag.
Darling, very impressive.
Such fun.
Now, I gather that you're giving of your greatness back on television, darling. You're filming. And tell us what you're doing.
Well, I'm playing a Yorkshireman, which is quite fun. Now, I'm allowed to because my mother, bless her heart, she died when I was 13. And she didn't actually have a very strong Yorkshire accent, but all her family did. And I had aunties who would call me Timmy, hello, Timmy, because they were from Sheffield, and my granny. And they were from Yorkshire. Mum was a bit posh because she'd been to a school in the south, but she had that kind of rhythm. She had that lovely Yorkshire humour. Anyway, I did a self-tape for Gentleman Jack.
Yay! Fantastic. That is the most wonderful series.
It's
so
great.
Stylish, so witty, so moving, and so important on so many levels.
Yeah. No, it's great. And Suran Jones, I have to say, I was a bit intimidated because I'd seen her and I thought, blimey, she's tough. I'm completely lovely and just a delight to work with. We had lots and lots of laughs. But that was from a self-tape, which, I talk to any actors, you all think we never get it from a self-tape. The reality is I've got this new thing, The Nevers, which is this big new HBO series. I've got 5 episodes in that. Excuse me. And that was from a self-tape. And this one, being York, they sent a car to pick me up, 4-hour drive to Leeds, and it's full of people who speak like that, and they got this Ponce Southerner to come up and do an impersonation. It was quite weird.
Darling, it's your craft and it's your talent. Can we have a little bit, if that would be all right, of The World Is Not Enough, James Bond?
The brief was they couldn't. It was Pierce Brosnan, and they couldn't get Pierce to. He wouldn't do it. So I had to do a test to see if I could sound like Pierce. And every single line I did, because I kept going off, they would feed me a bit of him in my ear, so I could do it. Because Pierce's accent is he's got that mid-Atlantic thing, but he's Irish, in fact, and so there's the begin. It's a sort of Irishness. But it doesn't sound Irish when he's being James Bond. Right. He sounds kind of English, It's very subtle, and so and all I can give you really is, which I did get to say. I mean, tick the box, die happy. I
thank you.
Professionally got to say, the name's Bond, James Bond, and it was that's kind of a Bond. It's that kind of.
My day is
it's like a giveaway. Any vowel sound that you come up with, it instantly gives it away. Bond, band, Bond. The name Bond.
Wow.
Darling, my day is complete. That has just been perfect. Thank you so much.
Was that on a video? Was that on a video game, Tim?
What, darling?
Was that on a video game?
Yeah, the video game of The World Is Not Enough. It was sort of in the, I don't know, it's in the 90s, I think. It's an old game now, but yeah, if you dig that one out, it's that's me. David.
I was a child then. I was a child, so I was only about 3, I think, so I don't remember. But, yeah.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I must say that I've only ever done one video game, strangely, because of my array of voices. But the one video game I have done, which is really popular, and do you know who I am? Opposite Lewis MacLeod. I am Mrs. Potato Head.
Oh, that is so
proud.
Definitely
proud.
The sophistication.
Actors have this list of things to tick off. Of die happy. I've got James Bond. I've got Mind the Gap. I've got David Archer. I just go, yeah, done that, said that. That's great. And also things like being allowed to say things like evil. With an I rather than evil. The baddies always say evil. We get to say things like that. Got that one.
Oh. Tim, I have to say, you say tick the box and die happy.
Yeah.
Well, from last time you were on, I'm the hugest ever Archers fan, and ticking the box and dying happy would be, well, I now have to say with all of us, WonderBirds visiting Ambridge. Yes.
Oh God, would absolute bliss. Well, you give the Grundys a makeover, probably, wouldn't you? That would be the thing to do.
We would.
Or tie up with Linda Snell and just get the whole, get the whole village involved in it. I suppose one thing that you miss in the Archers is, beauty and glamour, because it's just in the ear of the beholder. So, you only know whether or not someone's beautiful or not if they've got a kind of a beautiful voice and, or an ugly voice. And then you think of them as ugly, and it may be completely the other way around. You might have the most beautiful person in the world with a slightly ugly voice. But I think that's what the WonderBirds would bring to Ambridge, would be glamour and a sense of deep naughtiness.
Oh yes,
we would create havoc, wouldn't we? We would actually.
You would. No, I've got to do this. I shall write. Once this is finished, I shall write off immediately and suggest the idea.
Well, the thing is, Tim, we could always do a visual parody. We've just been filming WonderBirds Investigates, a new drama series that the WonderBirds are doing on Zoom, written by Tony McHale, and we've been filming it for the last couple of weekends. You've heard it here first. So we could do Ambridge. We could do some WonderBirds in Ambridge. We could actually do that.
You could. You would come across the most appalling difficulty in BBC copyright because, I mean, I just the other day these people asked me to be on I can't remember what the service is called. Anyway, you sign on and then they pay you, 15 quid for a kind of a personal message. So I asked our editor whether or not that would be okay for me to do a personal message to David Archer, and he said, absolutely no way. That ain't gonna happen, mate.
So that's a no then.
They're quite precious about that. But you could do a kind of an offbeat spoof and call it, the Grund. Oh, no, call it something different. But obviously was a pastiche. Then you'd be fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and have you noticed what's on Dee's head?
It's not one of Jude's creations, is it?
Oh, it is. It is indeed.
Oh boy! Oh, fantastic!
Born in your honour and Judy's honour.
Oh, bless you. She had the best time. She really, really did. She absolutely adored it. She had such fun. And you look fantastic. It suits you. It suits you.
Thank you. I love it. And I will be visiting her very soon to have my own. Yes, bespoke hat designed. Yes.
Definitely. It's slowly picking up. She's had a couple of commissions just recently, and it seems like with a certain amount of optimism in the future that people's weddings are going ahead and the races and things like that. So she's got a few.
It would be nice if we went back sailing again together. I was telling Hilary, because Hilary does a lot on the ships, how much fun we had on our saga cruise.
I loved it. It was such fun. I mean, we nearly sank. That was the other thing about it. It was, you read about these terrifying things where the ships kind of, capsize and everything. We were blasé about it. I was doing my one-man show up on stage, and I was sliding across the stage as we did it. There were only about 5 people in the audience, all of whom were being seasick. You could see them going, I was thinking it was a reaction to my performance, but it wasn't. It was the movement of the boat. But it was hysterical. I absolutely adored it.
That's good to hear.
And we got to see the Northern Lights, which was the most exciting thing as well.
You actually saw them. You were there.
Yeah, I did.
Because you're never guaranteed that time of year to see them. Oh, no. You're so nice. Wow.
We were really lucky, and they were fantastic, weren't they, Debs? They were.
Yeah, we saw. But the thing is that we saw them every night.
Oh, you got a bit blasé, did you? Like, oh, there they are.
Oh, here they are again.
But then we dressed up with about 5 layers of clothing, got into this bus with with loads and loads of people of a certain age, and drove out into the midst of the wilderness for about an hour and a half, and then got disgorged and stood there freezing to death. Yeah. But looking up at this extraordinary sight of these of the Northern Lights.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was, and Tony McHale was with us as well, which is even weirder.
Your friends, I absolutely adored it. I mean, we really did have the best time. It was such a surprise to me as well. It's lovely when you do things that you've never done before.
Would you cruise again, Tim? Would you take another cruise?
Only with Debbie, and only for a week.
Darling, thank you so much, Tim, for coming back to see us.
Oh yes, and, thank you.
Hopefully we will see you very, very soon, if not on land, on the sea.
And or in Ambridge.
Yes, absolutely.
Or on the telly.
Great. Fantastic. It was
Lovely to see you, darling.
complete
Thank you so
delight.
much.
Lots
Bye-bye
of
now.
love.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Tim.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh,
Lovely. Well, it was
What a
fun.
nice guy.
I love him. And
All
the
those
artist.
voices are so fantastic. It just
Amazing.
transports you everywhere.
Yeah.
Who's coming in on Wednesday, Debbie?
Mike Simpkins Book Club. So get ready for that because he's always very good. And Hillary's coming back as well. So it's going to be really, really exciting for all of us. And Harriet, you may or may not be here. Who knows?
I don't know, dear. It depends what my busy schedule is.
Oh,
Ooh.
So, but we do have Cheryl Baker as well. That was our little surprise.
Fantastic.
Yay.
So, great.
Fabulous.
So we will
Lovely
see you all
Cheryl.
on Wednesday. Have a nice few days.
Thanks,
Bye.
girls.
Bye. Bye.